Their faith means more to me than I can begin to say, but more than anything, I thank the God who loves us, the God who gave us life, who gave us our being, who created and drew this nation into existence. It is to the God of our fathers that we give praise this evening. So I thank you all for being here tonight. God bless you. God bless the United States.
Bachmann speaking at her campaign headquarters in Iowa tonight, not dropping out of the race. I'm sorry to have to headline that from her speech, but that is, when you finish sixth in Iowa, that is the thing that people are looking for. Michelle Bachmann, though, not saying that she would be dropping out of the race. I do have to give you an update right now in terms of what we're looking at in Iowa. Right now, there's 96% of the vote in, and in terms of the top two finishers, look at the difference between them. That's not some weird percentage or extrapolation or something. That's 79 votes. That is the difference between the two candidates. Rick Santorum ahead of Mitt Romney by 79 votes, with 96% of the vote in right now. Ron Paul, as you know, projected by NBC News to be the third-place finisher tonight. Right now, Gingrich, Perry, and Bachmann running fourth, fifth, and sixth after Ron Paul. But between Santorum and Romney, you cannot see daylight. I want to right now bring in Chuck Todd, if we can, Chuck, to find out what we are still waiting for with 96% in, and what a 79-vote margin means in terms of recounting and whether we're going to have a definitive result tonight.
Well, there is no recount. There's no delegates at stake, so technically at stake tonight because of the way the district conventions work. So there's no recount provision in this at all. But that doesn't mean they're not going to that you're not going to have the representatives of the Santorum and Romney campaigns want every scrap of paper counted, because the perception of who wins still will matter a little bit. The biggest chunk of vote is in Story County. Story County is sort of call it the Des Moines exurbs, if you will, home of Ames. It's a county that Mike Huckabee won by 17 points over Mitt Romney 4 years ago, but we do expect Paul to do better in that county. Half of the remaining raw vote, it's something about 8,000 we project, votes are yet to be counted. Half of it is in Story County. But let's look at this big picture-wise. This is a huge night for Rick Santorum. He is now looking like the leader of the conservative primary. He comes out of here with real momentum, especially if he can, hold that razor-thin lead, and that he is the perception. And frankly, all night long, the perception has been him. About the only downside for Rick Santorum tonight is he hasn't been able to give a victory speech. He hasn't been able to rally troops. These speeches, these moments do matter. But it is big for them. And now you've got Mitt Romney having to go to New Hampshire, and he's running against himself. Everybody expects him to win, but by how much now? He's already up by quote-unquote 20 points. Santorum is sitting in single digits in all of these polls. In fact, if we had just done by the New Hampshire polls, he might not have qualified for our NBC News Facebook debate because he hadn't hit 5% there. That's going to change. He's going to get some momentum out of this in the next week. Well, how close does he get? Remember, there is some blue-collar Catholic precincts there that Rick Santorum, who grew up in western Pennsylvania, he's going to go up to New Hampshire and find some like-minded folks, people that will remind him of people that he knew when he was growing up and campaigned for when he first ran for Congress. And that leaves Mitt Romney in one of these weird positions where he's just simply, by how much does he win by? How quickly does Santorum close the gap? And then now they've set themselves up for South Carolina 11 days after that. And at that point, if Newt Gingrich is there serving as sort of a lead blocker for Santorum, which would sound like what Newt said he was going to do, I'm going to throw all these bombs at Romney, and by the way, almost plow the field for Rick Santorum. I mean, he didn't say it in those terms, but it seemed to be the subtle message he was sending. Boy, that helps Santorum buy some time to build an organization, because right now he doesn't have the infrastructure, frankly, to compete in the biggest prize in January, and that's Florida on January 31st.
Chuck, in terms of how Rick Santorum might meaningfully position himself against Mitt Romney in New Hampshire, the sharpest contrast that Mr. Santorum has drawn with Mr. Romney thus far has been on family values issues, on real traditional social conservative issues, things like abortion. Even in Rick Santorum's case, he's campaigned against contraception and things like that.
Right.
If that's the sharpest contrast he can draw between himself and Mitt Romney, is there fertile ground for that among New Hampshire voters?
Well, actually, no, because but I do think Another thing he's done, he's the only candidate that's come out and says, you know what, we got to revitalize the manufacturing base. You know, he's a little bit, he almost is talking about having government help get involved to revitalize the manufacturing sector. And that's something that can resonate there. Remember, New Hampshire has this conservative populist streak that was able to launch Pat Buchanan back in '96. So there is, I do think there's an economic populism aspect to Rick Santorum in his message on the manufacturing, trying to revitalize the manufacturing sector that could connect there. I think if he runs a campaign only on social issues, he wouldn't be able to, I think, go toe-to-toe with Romney. But you know what, he hasn't been running fully on social issues. His reputation is that he is this social conservative evangelist, if you will. But out here in Iowa, it's been a mix of that manufacturing plan he's been pushing, an aggressive hawkish foreign policy when it comes to Iran, and of course the social issues.
Chuck, thank you. While we're waiting to hear from Rick Perry right now, Steve Schmidt, let me just ask you, thinking about the parallels with Huckabee having won in 2008 and then having gone to New Hampshire and been beaten, of course, by your candidate, by John McCain, Huckabee also had a populist sort of big government manufacturing base message as well. It's part of the way that he explained why he raised taxes as governor of Arkansas. He thought it would be good for the economy there, what he needed to do, the investments he needed to make. Why didn't Huckabee get more traction with a combined social conservative, religious, and economic populist message like that in New Hampshire?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, it's tough for a Southern evangelical to compete in New Hampshire. Now, Rick Santorum's not a Southern evangelical. He's a Northeasterner. And will he be able to go into New Hampshire and to be able to move numbers? How far will his momentum take him? I think the Newt Gingrich concession speech was the most remarkable concession speech I've ever seen in politics. He basically announced that he was going to be the blocking fullback for Rick Santorum. He looks mad as hell, and he's about to give it to Mitt Romney with all he's got in every debate going forward. And I just think it's going to be remarkable to watch over the next week.
We were just talking, we spent the whole first hour of this talking about Newt Gingrich complaining about the negativity, and then when he got to what he was saying he was going to do to Mitt Romney, he essentially threatened to do something that might look really negative to Mitt Romney, but he doesn't want it to be seen that way.
As he put it, I do reserve the right to tell the truth.
Yes,
that's the way he phrased it.
And that might look negative when I talk about
the
his
Michelle
right.
Bachmann concession speech, which was the worst so far, included the sentence, "I'm not a politician," which I take as her withdrawal from the race. I am not a politician. She's really out of it. She knows she's out of it, and she, for some reason, doesn't want to say that tonight. Whether she'll say it before New Hampshire, I don't know, but it won't be long after New Hampshire. And so where do Michelle Bachmann people go, and there aren't any really in New Hampshire, where do they go after New Hampshire when this campaign keeps moving? Santorum looks like the guy for those.
We are waiting to see, too, if there are Perry people who are cut loose as well tonight. We'll be hearing, hopefully, from Rick Perry within the next couple of minutes. Let me go to Chris Matthews in the meantime, while we're waiting to hear if we're going to hear from Rick Perry. Chris?
Right. Watch Santorum begin tomorrow with the help of Newt Gingrich, who's going to be his point of his spear, as we say. Watch him go after the Irish and Italian people that have moved up to New Hampshire to get away from the taxes of Massachusetts and the culture thereof. I watched Pat Buchanan in '92 and '96, once taking on George Herbert Walker Bush and getting about 37%, then going up and smashing Bob Dole against the pollsters. What's happened is a lot of the polling up there assumes that New Hampshireites are a bunch of old Granite State Yankees, when in fact they're not anymore. The polling was off. They're Irish and Italian, angry people that don't like big government. As Tip O'Neill, my old boss, used to say, in New Hampshire, they don't even like parks. They don't like government. And so what you're going to see is, watch Santorum maybe pick up that Buchanan vote up there against the establishment and really put on a challenge, perhaps, with Gingrich's help against the Yankee, if you will, Mitt Romney. It could be very fascinating in just a 4 or 5 day race, but it will climax Saturday night in that ABC debate, and then of course you'll have the follow-up on Sunday morning with David's show, Meet the Press. You're going to see an attack like you've never seen from Newt to the benefit of Santorum. It's going to be fascinating. This thing's wide open.
He's got a heck of a wingman right now. There's no question about it. Yeah. And Santorum goes into New Hampshire, no pressure, just raise money. Make a good showing, stick to your principles, do what you did as best you can down in Iowa, although your window is different, and then just go to South Carolina.
Doesn't matter if he gets walloped there, doesn't matter because nobody's...
He won't get walloped. I don't think he'll get walloped. I think he'll show better, obviously. He's going to get some traction out of this. Gingrich is going to help him out, but Gingrich might have a credibility problem too. All of a sudden, Gingrich is the high and mighty voice of how campaigns ought to be run. Let's not get too close to Gingrich here, Santorum.
Gingrich goes after him, and I think the real problem is that if I'm in Willard Romney's camp, I wanted to go to New Hampshire and start running against President Obama. Yeah. Now he has got to run against Santorum. And the longer that narrative plays, the better it is for the president.
I think he gets out there and he says, I can't say enough nice things about Rick Santorum. What a lovely guy.
Santorum just has to go be Santorum. I've seen him on the stump. He does talk about manufacturing. He talks about repatriating money coming back into the United States. 0% when it comes to corporate tax. I mean, he does have a manufacturing plan which is going to play well in New Hampshire. He'll talk to the middle classers up there. He'll have social conservatives.
That is not a manufacturing plan. That is a big corporate tax break that produces absolutely no manufacturing.
That is his pitch, Lawrence. I've seen it. I was there.
For that.
He wants to repatriate the money coming back to the United States. That's what he wants to do. No, he wants to bring the money back is what he wants to do.
Right, but
and
you
give
understand,
them breaks for
you're
repatriating.
He's in favor of repatriating profits made in foreign countries on manufacturing done in foreign countries. That does nothing for. It is what it is, Ed. It does nothing. He has no program for manufacturing.
He does. He does have a program for it. It may not be one you like.
Look, it's Rick Perry. Rick Perry at his campaign headquarters in Iowa right now. Looks to be placing just ahead of Michelle Bachmann, running in 5th place right now. Let's hear what he has to say.
Work in Iowa for us. They did a fabulous job, and I want to take a moment and just say thanks to the people of Iowa. They welcomed us into their homes, and these were communities that reminded Anita and I so much of places that where we grew up, and where I, as an agriculture commissioner, traveled across the state of Texas. And I got to tell you, Cliff, this so much reminded me of that race back in 1990 when we traveled across the state of Texas, and you know, nobody thought we had a chance to win, and we surprised a lot of people. And the fact is, we had that same feeling here. People who love America, who love the values that this country are based upon, and just, you know, and all of you folks who travel from 30+ states to come here and to work and to caucus and to put up signs. I want to share with you just a letter that was handed to me earlier, and this was like, he said, "Words cannot express how thankful I am for being able to serve you this past week. My name is Colt Smith." Right there, brother. My name is Colt Smith. He said, "I'm 24 years old and I just graduated from Tarleton State University. Lives in Aquila, Texas." And he said he got his BS degree in ag, and he said he also, in Aquila, he graduated in the top 10 in his class of 13, just like I did, right? And he said, "I drove here." He said, "I broke down in Kansas." He said, "I spent $2,000 to get it fixed." He said, "Well, I got a loan, but still made it." He said, "This has been the best experience of my life." He said, "Today I saw you for the first time in Perry, Iowa." And he said, "I know you were a good man, but I never realized what a great man you were." He said, "It brought me to tears to see a man who feared the Lord. And when you told that soldier, or you called him your Christian brother," he said, "blew me away." He said, "I want so much for me to know that," he said, I want you to know that I got to know your son, and I got to meet your wife, Anita. Your family is wonderful. I've enjoyed my visits with your staff along the way. Ray Sullivan and Joe Albaugh, they are great people. Basically, I want you to know you matter and are making a difference. I visited 1,000 homes today, and you matter to them also. This has to be the greatest honor of my life.